Okay, so we are nominating Jonathan Spiegel as vice chair of the EDIC. All in favor, say aye.
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 And I'll abstain on my own.
401.
We have a position of treasurer, and I think you indicated you might continue in that position, right?
Yay.
Unless somebody else wants it.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, the only other
That's
position,
Bob's line.
the only other position we have as a position to be elected is clerk. And Bob has indicated that he would like to hand that to somebody else,
You do so well at it.
if I may report on your conversation.
Our favorite scribe.
It's senility. I can do it if I hear it.
Is this something you could do for a while?
Notes?
Minutes?
I'm sure if you ask my teachers, they'd say no.
He's a verbal kind of
Well,
guy.
there's always a person who's not here. We could elect her.
Yeah, that's,
But she's not here tonight, so you'll have to continue.
yeah.
Can we defer that to,
Yeah.
to next?
Bob,
to
if you're
next
willing
time?
to stay on.
Just,
Yeah, he is. Okay.
And so, as Beth mentioned, there'll be some signing that we'll have to do to take care of the bank.
Right, the bank.
Okay.
Now, do we need to have Bill go with us or no?
no,
What is the process there?
I think, I don't know, we'll just have to go with like IDs, and I think because we're already signers, we can
Yeah,
add someone and remove.
right,
So maybe we can just meet at the branch one day and
right.
get it straightened out.
It might be helpful if Bob gets the minutes together quickly, which he does, to take the minutes.
To take the
show
minutes
vote.
with us, yeah.
You'll have to call ahead because I know they don't have a manager right now, so
Oh,
Oh,
no.
is that right?
I'm looking for one for a while.
Do they have an assistant manager, or
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I'm just saying if she has to come
she
out,
has to
like,
come out?
they're a little short-handed. They might have hired one finally.
Yeah, because we don't have like an official corporate resolution, do we, that lists who can sign?
Our corporate resolution is filed in Stonehouse Museum.
That's typically what they ask for. Again, I know when I came on, Bill just added my name.
Yeah. Well, quick call.
Yeah.
All right. Security. Any lapses on security?
Well, I haven't gotten any calls from the police for a while, so that's a good sign. And I've had conversations, actually mostly text messages with Jim, and I'm going to try to find somebody else to fill his shoes because his health is not good. And there's one opening in particular that's glaring. It doesn't seem to be inviting, but one that I would like to have closed up on the ground floor of one of the buildings. But other than that, it seems to be relatively calm for the summer. I don't know, maybe it's too hot to break in or
I
something.
don't know, but perhaps you could find another contractor to do that.
Yeah, that's what I think I'm gonna have to do. And I figured he probably, he said, well, my brother can do this. And I'm like, well, that's not working. So,
Well, we might need to increase the budget. Because somebody's gonna charge a lot more than Jim.
I'll start finding, it's every so often, there's a breach in a building, I'll board it up. The biggest problem that we have is there's nothing to attach to anymore. All the window frames are rotted out. So you're dealing with, masonry walls and other than that, it's just here and there. I don't know if you know of anybody that in the realty
Nobody's
business.
cheap, I know that.
Well, no, I understand, but it's something that we sporadically need. And it usually is just like 3 hours to board something up.
I might have someone help.
Their number
Okay.
one question will be how quick do they pay?
Do they have to have a contract? Do they have to have a contractor's license to do this, or just as long as
No.
they can do it, right?
Somebody
It doubles
was
their
insured.
insured, yeah.
Somebody was
Somebody
insured.
that's insured.
Yeah, insurance would be a big
Yeah,
plus.
then they're not gonna have that.
Insurance is also gonna double their rate.
How's Eddie go? Would Eddie go be interested in doing it?
Ed?
Yeah.
He's been pretty busy down at the shop, it's a good question.
Who?
But Ed Go.
Oh, and, yeah,
He's supposed to.
yeah, maybe, I'll talk to him.
Yeah, he does a lot of odd jobs.
Yeah, well, he's doing the brush hogging now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll, yeah, see him regularly, so.
Okay, under security, you usually also cover what else is happening on campus.
Right, I've been there regularly, with, Bob from Mass Development, who took over for Kendall.
Okay, John.
Is it John?
Yeah, John.
Well, I don't address him by name, so I haven't gotten that awkward situation yet.
You're two guys, you don't
Hey.
even know each other's names.
Yeah, exactly. So we've met on site a number of times, and it's all hydro seeded now. You know, everything was filled in and brought up to grade, and looks great. They even finally repaired the gates that somebody didn't have the key, so they just drove their truck through it, and mashed it in, but they managed to straighten it out, cut an end off, and it worked. So
Easy to straighten the gate with an excavator.
it was like a pretzel.
Okay.
But anyway, so that's yeah, we've been monitoring it right along, and I've signed 30 or more forms setting the debris hither and yon, and it's a done deal.
It's a lot better.
That's the big, aside from the clock on the top of the admin building, that was a symbol of the state school, and could be seen from the guest house at the top of the mountain at the Connecticut River. You can see all the way across the valley to see that smokestack. So, big change for Belchertown. There's also something happening on Front Street yesterday. Steve?
Yeah, the contractor that owns the carousel building behind print shop
Oh, yeah.
tied utilities into his building, or is in the process of tying utilities into his building. So we'll have.
He had no utilities back there? Oh, I never knew that.
So he's ready for utilities. There's another sign of continued economic development,
Yeah.
courtesy of the Economic Development Industrial Corporation.
How did they run the carousel?
Well, all
Or
the-
that was old
that
power
that
lines?
was all the old underground three-phase network that was all abandoned when
Right.
the campus left. So he's been sitting on that project for a few years.
No doubt.
waiting to tie in. He's had porta potties up the top for his employees, and that's just their staging area, so they're in there in the morning and they leave. But it sounds like now he's starting to move forward with maybe more occupancy in there, maybe an office or something.
Oh, good.
Right?
Little by little.
Our numbers continue to grow.
Oh, yeah.
Very good. So we pretty much covered the mundane aspects of what we're doing. I think we also want to talk about Parcel D. I think what we want to do at some point, and members of the development team, engage in your public presentation just before we go to executive session. So what part of it that will not be negotiating or contracting or secure information? Or will-
Yes. So I wasn't prepared to negotiate tonight. I just wanted to give you guys like a project update. I think what we can do is kind of run through where we are and some of the more important facets of the design that kind of dictates like the
That would be
schedule.
good and helpful.
Yeah.
I'd like you to hold that just for a few more minutes, and we're going to take some more open meeting business just for a few minutes, and then come
Okay.
back to you for that just before we go to executive session.
Okay, sounds good.
You can share whatever you feel is appropriate for the public section.
Okay.
Parcel D. Parcel D is in the works. What's happening with that?
Right. Actually, this is, that's not the parcel D stuff, that's the, 202 stuff. Parcel D, I met with Doug, today and we have to, there's a process which we have to take the 10 acres and, has to go through an A&R, I believe, but Doug could probably, describe it much better than I can. Doug?
There he is.
I can.
Yeah, and he will.
Basically, yes, it's an A&R, which means subdivision approval not required. And that's how you move property lines around. So you will have a surveyor do that for you. And so what the plan will be is the new line will go across the town's piece to separate it from that. And then they'll basically erase the line between that piece you want and your parcel. And that's the essence of it. The planning board signs off as long as it's all there, and you go record it at the registry of deeds and you have a new parcel.
Now that's gonna require, a Mylar from, Ty and Bond.
Yeah, well, assuming they do the survey, yeah. It'll be a Mylar and 4 prints and an application form with some authorized signatures from the EDIC and probably the select board or Steve, whoever's authorized over there
Okay,
to sign off on that and hand over the
So we should
land.
get the survey underway and done
well, it
Yeah.
is. The survey's been done.
for that corner.
Right. It just, and I sent it to Amanda Newmiller, to try to get that
Amanda
So that we can
Newmiller
keep
is
moving.
the mass development person who's connected to us on parcel D grant.
She actually runs the site readiness program.
Site readiness.
Site,
Yep.
thank you.
Let me ask you, Kurt, is that, I know Ty and Bob was working on the additional scope for parcel D.
Right,
The survey was done as part of the first phase?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I know they're still working on because there was some funds left over from the grant.
right,
So they're working on the scope.
right, yeah.
Okay, great. Doug, thank you. We will keep that moving along and get it out of the way.
Any questions? You know how to find me. I know Kirk does.
He's the man.
Hey.
Yeah, I have to do something to change that.
Okay, I know that Sherry wanted to talk about parcel D and getting some advertising going about it. And volunteered to work with you, Robert, and your team to see what we could do about it, how to approach that.
Okay. I would just recommend, once we get the additional scope from Ty and Bob, that we socialize that with the group and then we can then talk about how we want to proceed.
Good, that piece has been thoroughly surveyed and tested and mapped out and so on, so
Okay.
all of that information, in fact, Amanda has that all.
Right.
Good, and so I gave her your number to start the process of
Sure.
discussing how we can put that forward to the public.
Right.
And I think the last piece, in terms of the campus itself, is 202 parcel, which our town planner has mapped for us. And the question on that is how to record the trail that's supposed to run behind that parcel on 202 down by the water's edge, which is supposed to be part of the whole trail around Lake Wallace and beyond. And we have received from Doug a set of maps that sort of lay out against the parcel where the trail goes and the approximate size of a lot that could be sold that faces the entrance from the junction with 202 and 21. So I would ask everybody to sort of peruse that. We just received it Doug, and thank you very much for that. Very illustrative.
Good.
So it shows a parcel that's about 3/4 of an acre.
Yeah, roughly. What I did was basically I just put it around the level area that anybody would be able to build on, not considering all the wetlands and stuff like that you'd still have to go through. And so with that, you'd still have, yeah, 30,000 square feet. If you wanted a little more, you could probably squeeze out a little more, but that would meet zoning. It would exceed the zoning requirement quite a bit.
Good.
And so that, retains the utility of the commercial area that you want to develop. And the rest of the stuff, which you can't use anyway and isn't needed for zoning or anything else, you could just cut out. So again, my recommendation, the simplest thing would be to just have it surveyed out and added to the Lake Wallace parcel and hand it over to the Conservation Commission. And that way you don't have to deal with the trail.
The whole parcel, you mean?
Everything except the part you could build on. So
The part you build on.
yeah, we'd survey that out.
But if you look at the map 5, and if I'm understanding this correctly, it says map 5 shows mass biomap core habitat, which could possibly require some restrictions. So
Yeah.
is that reducing the amount of building area left? That
It
would be
could.
what's in red? Huh?
It could. You'd have to go through probably, somebody developing that would go through an environmental review anyway, because it's both state highway and at least to the west of the intersection it is. And yeah, you'd have all these sensitive areas there. So that's why it's important for you, I think, to at some point talk to the conservation office and get a better sense of what the process would be for anyone to develop that.
Okay, so your suggestion is, this is a block. The tail that goes off towards the courthouse could be extended a distance parallel to the trail, I would imagine. Right.
What are you saying?
On the first map.
Yeah.
That cutoff at the, what end is that? That's the western.
West.
Yeah.
That could be extended as sort of parallel to the trail.
Well, you could, yeah, you could, if you wanted to tail that off or something. Yeah, I mean, that gets worked out during a survey. So yeah, it doesn't have to be anything like, it'd be generally like what I have, but once you get people out on the ground, you'll have different results.
Now, does the drainage area that came off of BP, where is that in relation to the western boundary on the first map?
The drainage area is to the left of that car that is driving west.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing, Doug. I think it's right in that area where the car is, that red car.
Yeah, you can kind of see a light colored splotch. That might be some riprap or something.
So you're proposing from that yellow line over to just.
No, what I'm proposing, that yellow line is supposed to be the general area of the trail.
The trail.
Yeah, so the approximate 30,000 square feet is the sort of the general building area you have.
And then the rest of it, you would propose we just give to the Lake Wallace Trail.
Right.
Yeah, give to the Conservation Commission because nobody else can do anything with it.
The whole thing.
Yeah.
We should just give them the whole thing.
Well, you can build on it.
It's borderline worthless unless we do research.
It's easily the size of Christie's, if not a little bit more as far as usable area.
Okay, Bob's got a question.
Okay, on the next page is over, there's a circle in yellow that says 492. Is that elevation 492? Is that a wet area in the middle there?
Oh, let's see. Which next map?
That's on map 3.
Yeah, it's a contour line, Doug.
Yeah, it's a contour line. Yeah. I just put those on to kind of give you an idea of
where a structure would go.
Yeah, that's the high point.
Right.
Yeah, it's a little bump.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, so you
so,
can see the area that I have marked off is relatively level, but then it just drops off pretty quickly after that.
okay, so we would have to get this survey
Well,
in order to draw the line.
what you need to do is, agree to have this done, and we still have some money in for surveying in our account for the Lake Wallace project.
Okay,
So
good.
once we get this done, if you kind of formalize the thought here and authorize me to proceed with this, then I will have our surveyor begin this A&R process to do that. And then, once that's done, we can finish the conservation restriction business. Get that all done and finally record
Those
it.
of us with gray hair will remember the conservation restriction business.
We need to talk about that.
Okay,
Tonight?
No,
Okay.
Jonathan and I need to talk
Oh,
about that.
okay.
Can I ask a question?
please.
If the wetlands don't start until here, why wouldn't, and maybe, I'm sure there's a reason, but why wouldn't we move the trail closer to the wetlands in order to give this, whoever's gonna build here, more space by moving the trail this way, closer to wetlands?
It drops
It
down
drops pretty
considerably.
Very steep.
Pretty
I mean,
steep right there.
Yeah,
So would it be safe to walk on a trail, you mean? Oh, it wouldn't
It wouldn't
matter
matter
because they
for
wouldn't wanna
them.
build, okay.
Yeah.
Usually space.
Got it.
Yeah.
Not very
Unless that's
useful.
just a wetland, it's not the buffer.
Yeah, the trail already exists, and we're not going to change that part of it much. There are a couple of spots over by the road where we'll reroute it to get away from the road a bit, and then we need to rebuild the snowmobilers' bridges. That's where most of the expense is going to be on that project, if we get a grant.
Okay, the only thing I would point out here about this, which is why I was interested about extending that tail to the west somewhat. Well, that intersection at some point could become signal controlled. Steve designed it, and I don't know how much infrastructure you put in, but underground, but the cable channels, what do you call them, tubes that you can pull through?
Yeah, I think there's conduit in place already, but
Yeah,
to Jonathan's point, that was established so that signal heads could be added to the intersection, which would allow a
Like right
entrance
here.
into the intersection. So I agree, we should chase that out to the west.
Yeah.
So that any potential developer.
Right.
If they need room for a mast arm or any infrastructure, electrical boxes, they would have that and not have to come back to the town.
All right, well, here's what we can do. I can have the surveyor, if he's available, join one of your upcoming meetings, and we can work out all the spots that.
actually, I think really all you need to do is have Kirk and somebody go out on the ground with the surveyor.
Okay.
sure.
And then once that's established, the plot and site, we can pass that quickly at our meeting.
So the lights are there, you're saying.
So what do other members feel about this? The question is sort of separating off about a 3/4 of an acre parcel for sale, for business, and returning the rest of that parcel, which has gotta be, what, at least 2 acres,
Yeah, about that.
to the town.
Yeah, just a sliver along 202, yeah.
How do people feel about it?
It's unusable.
From a public safety perspective, if you're doing the tail, just with that address, because it's a really busy intersection, I know you talked about being able to put an additional light on, but could that also be an entrance or exit if you tailed it
Yes.
down?
Yes,
Yeah.
that's why we would give it more space. And it could be a controlled signal. So someone who is exiting that business would have a red light, and that would be, what do you call it, Steve? That's
Like a crown point, right?
Yeah,
Same thing.
it'd be under signal control.
signal control, so that it's safe to exit the business. That's why we thought ahead on this one.
Right, and that's good, and that way Crispies could even make use of that.
Have some arrangement where they could have their entrance
Cross
and exit.
easement, yeah.
So do you think, I mean, where the drainage is from the gas station,
That's why looking at it on site would make a difference for me.
yeah, I mean, that's the obvious end of perspective lot.
Exactly.
I can't imagine going past that and,
Correct, but we don't
Going
know
over
exactly where that is from these maps.
Yeah.
So what I can tell you is that the trail goes up against Route 202 to get around that drainage area. That's why,
So
right,
it's
where that
further.
red car is, that is where the drainage is.
Okay, so there
The
is
trail
room
has
to
to
do this.
go up and over the top of the pipe and then back down in. So
Got it.
that's
Yeah,
the exact look.
You and I almost fell in that years ago.
And that was strategically placed outside of the building envelope.
right,
That's why it's there. So continuing this red zone almost in a straight line and squaring off that triangle is gonna work.
Okay,
And a surveyor can pick that up and make that decision.
okay.
Yep.
so Doug, would you ask the surveyor to call Kirk to make arrangements?
I've already made a note to do that.
What a guy.
So the surveyor's gonna do that, but then who do we have to get to determine all these other things you talk about, the wetlands, the
Well, we gotta have
habitat?
a map.
That would be a whole different.
Yeah, you gotta at least talk to Sarah in the conservation office. And I
The
think,
issue with the conservation questions is
Yeah,
gonna
those are
play this
conservation
parcel whether we
questions.
give it to the town or not.
Right, that's my point, I guess, like,
Yeah. Maybe we can, no, never mind.
Doug, you think you and I could set up a time? Sarah's on vacation this week. Next week's not good. The week after, maybe we can sit down with her.
yeah, let's meet.
Surveyor's not gonna be out there right away. We have time.
Yeah, we do have time, so yeah, we
you
can.
need that
Yeah,
first.
I think
before
we
you-
need to set up a time with, say
So you
Kirk.
don't think you would wanna do this
Yeah.
first,
They can do it in
before you
front.
waste time in a survey?
There's probably a way of getting a waiver if it's a problem,
Okay.
but it's,
Well, yeah, like whoever it was said, the surveyor's not going to get out there for a while anyway. So,
So I would just think you would wanna square that away first.
yeah, I think so too.
I think what we need tonight is authorization from the EDIC to move forward with any
Yeah.
work on this.
That's right.
I mean, you could tell us to get our trail off of your property, so you need to decide if this is a viable option. Doug and I can
Got
work
it.
it out.
okay.
Right.
And where the trail is going is not buildable anyway.
Right.
And there is sufficient land for a buildable lot if approved. Okay. So, I'll make a motion that we move forward with the plan, to, identify and survey an approximate 3/4 acre parcel out of parcel, what is it? C? D? No, not D.
I don't even know.
I don't know what it's called.
Out of the parcel
The parcel
presented.
adjacent to Crispy's.
Says B here.
That's right, yeah.
It's parcel 250-58.
Thank you.
go.
250-58 on the town map, for the purpose of creating a building lot, commercial building lot, and providing appropriate land to the town for the trail network.
Second.
Waiting for it. Good. Okay. Any other discussion on that or questions?
No, just all right. So, in the meantime, Steve, Sarah, and Kirk, and meet and review what would be.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're ready to move forward with that.
Mhm.
Thank you, Doug, thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Continued support and guidance.
I'm your biggest fan.
Thank you. Nice.
Westinghouse,
Okay. Very good.
the vote.
All in favor?
What?
We gotta vote.
Get a vote?
You didn't do that?
You said it,
I
you
said,
asked for discussion.
you're the chairman now, speak up.
I did. We got a vote?
Space to get filled with discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
500. Thank you. This will move the whole Lake Wallace Trails network, everything, it'll another step forward.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about it soon. All right. let's, anything else from members' time, or anything that anybody from the public would like to ask about or bring up?
Ed started the brush hogging, primarily on the commercial side.
Uh-huh.
So that's good that he got started on that. Obviously thwarted by the rain today, but he intends to go through that. It'll probably be done by next meeting.
Okay, great.
There are a number of trees down and limbs down that obviously makes it so he can't do a nice job. And we've talked about that many times in the past, whether it's worth paying somebody to go clean that up. I don't know. That's where it sits.
What was the number for the brush hogging?
Excuse me?
What was the number for brush hogging?
5,500.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
So I think what we could do now, Hamad, is move to the portion of the agenda. Did you have anything else from Mass Development you wanted to discuss with us?
Sure. Kurt did talk about the power plant demolition as of last week. And he mentioned that they finished the grading the buildings last week as well. Final survey for the record should have been done last week, but I'll check on Tuesday. Work next for American Environmental is a hydro seeding that should have been done this week or last week.
It was.
Okay, was completed. They're completing their punch list as well. So
Right.
we should have the final documents hopefully in the next couple of weeks. Just one note, American Environmental will take down the perimeter fence. Has that come down yet? Do you know?
Not yet.
Okay, so they will take down the perimeter fence, the silt fencing, once the grass starts growing. We'll have it probably 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah.
We've gotten a lot of rain today, so hopefully that helps.
Work.
The pressure reducing valve, we're still waiting for National Grid to actually land the primary power to the utility poles and install the meter socket. I know they were working on that last week. I'm not sure if they've actually put that meter in. We'll mail National Grid and propose a date for them to hook that up.
Great.
All right. So I think the remaining work, just on the pressure reducing valve, contractor will or has installed for some pump as of last week. The demolition of the existing pressure reducing valve vault, the salvage of materials should have been done this week. Cut and cap the water mains of the old pressure reducing valve vault. They're finishing up the site work, should have been done this week. They started that last week. And I think they're completing their punch list, hopefully, if not this week, next week, with Weston and Sampson. All right.
Thank you, Robert. Okay. I think we've concluded most of the business, except now I'd like to ask Hamad Graham and his team to give a public update on the major development project, how you wanted to focus on that. And at various points, I would ask if you would stop and see if there are any questions, Hamad, or if there's somebody in the room who has a question, I'll try to let you know that. I want to turn the floor over to Hamad Graham, who is a prime contractor for this major
developer.
project. Thank you. I knew we had some news, so let's go.
Yeah. So thank you, Jonathan. So we had a couple points that we'll make with the larger design team, break it down into maybe 5, key updates. I think we do have to go around the room again, just so that folks can clarify their role. I believe Peter is actually present.
Yes.
Okay, so we'll start off with the folks that are there. So, Peter, do you want to just kind of describe your background, describe your role, and then we'll turn it over to the design team and then eventually Emily.
Sure. Peter Serafino, a resident of Ludlow, Massachusetts. I'm a real estate development consultant to the developer, the Carriage Grove Apartments project. I specialize in affordable housing. I've worked with Home City Development and Wayfinders and the community builders, doing affordable housing development in Amherst, Northampton, Springfield, Hartford, New Haven for the last 20 years or so. I've been on board with Hamad on this project for a number of months now, trying to move things along with funding and just helping him manage the whole process in terms of getting this to fruition. So I'm looking forward to working with everybody here and the team that Hamad's assembled.
Great. Thank you, Peter. Appreciate it. So Andy, I'll open it up to you. I think everyone in the room knows you because you've been with me since the very beginnings, but clearly if you want to introduce, by all means, but I think it's important to kind of introduce Gracie and Vivian because they have been speaking with some folks at the town recently. So
Sure thing. Hi, everybody. I'm sure we've met before in one digital format or another. Andy Van. I'm a principal at Paul Castrucci Architects. Been on the project for a number of years now. And yes, I have my colleagues Gracie Mills and Vivian Cheng here today with us. Gracie, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself, and then Vivian afterwards?
Sure. Yeah. Sorry about the bad audio before. I'm Gracie. I'm a senior architect at PCA, and I also have a lot of experience working on housing throughout the Tri-State region, especially, and also in New Zealand, where I'm from. So really excited about the project and looking forward to continuing communication with all of you in the future.
Hi everyone, my name is Vivian, and I'm a architect at Paul Castrucci Architects. I'm working primarily on the admin building, but also on the residential side. So looking forward to working with you all. Apologies that my camera is actually currently not working, but looking forward to meeting all of you in person.
great. And then Emily, if you want to reintroduce yourself quickly.
Hi, Emily Dominiani with Ryan. We're the historic tax credit consultants on the project.
Great. So, primarily focusing on the admin building. So, all right, Andy. So let's open it up on the design update. Let's share that PowerPoint.
Sure thing.
Or that PDF you did.
Great. Yeah, Jonathan, is there a way that you could permit me to
Yes.
present you?
Yes. As soon as I find that special little button. All right, I did that. Let's see if you can bring up your design.
Yes, I can. Let me go ahead and share here. Can folks see my screen?
Not yet. There it is.
Yes.
There it is. Okay. So please, if for some reason it freezes or anything happens, just feel free to let me know, and we can restart again. Can everybody hear me okay in room 104?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, excellent. So we'll go ahead and get started with our update with where we are at with Carriage Grove Phase 1. I have 4 major points I want to kind of bring up today. First, I want to talk about the update, the status update, where we are, with the drawing sets and the development. Then I'd like to talk about the design team members. Our team has grown since we last talked, as the project has gotten more complex and more developed. Then I want to talk about the process we've been engaged in with Mass Save in terms of developing our sustainability goals, give an update on that, and then finally round off with where we're at with the administration and the extension buildings. So just an overview of our earlier milestones. Planning approval was February 2024. We then completed schematic design midway through last year and carried on with design development, which as of the end of May of this year, we completed 50%. So we're halfway through the design development phase. We're looking to be.
Andy, if I may, I'm going to mention I'm going to record the presentation, if I may.
That's totally fine, Jonathan.
All right, Bill.
Can the screen get any bigger?
Probably not.
This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, thank you, Andy.
Sorry.
Okay.
Share that as well. Share this PDF.
Steve, do you know how to do that?
Hey, Andy, can you increase the size of your PDF or no?
No, I mean, I have it full screen here.
Oh, do you? Okay.
I think it's a problem in the room.
Where?
On the right-hand side, there's a plus arrow.
Right there.
No, just below that.
Is that plus?
Nope, down below, next one down.
If that should do something.
That's great, thank you.
Okay. Are we ready?
Yep.
Okay, great. So as I was saying, we completed 50% of the design development phase as of late May of this year. And we are working towards 100% completion of the DD phase, which we're projecting to be about a month from now, mid to late September. Our major upcoming milestones include the 25% construction documents package, which we are planning on submitting to the Massachusetts EOHLC for the LIHTC application round in December 2025. So that's when we'll be submitting for the low-income housing tax credits. We anticipate that award in Q1 or Q2 of next year, which hopefully would bring us to a project closing. I think I can see that there's a mistake here because we wouldn't close in Q2. We would probably close in Q4 of 2026. I can revise that, and when I send out the PDF, it will be updated, which potentially could have a construction start at the beginning of 2027. So typically with these affordable housing jobs, because of the low-income housing tax credit process, it tends to draw out a bit. So that's sort of where we're looking at with upcoming milestones on the project and where we've been since planning approval. In the last few months, we have received a new qualified allocation plan from Massachusetts EOHLC, which included new design guidelines. So we've been updating and revising apartment plans, the building plans based on new design guidelines, as well as we've received some market feedback, which has directed us to sort of switch out the number of studio apartments with one-bedroom apartments. So we've increased the number of one-bedroom apartments in the development and decreased the number of studios. However, our total number of apartments for the project is still at 105, as we were including in the planning approval. We've brought on a Massachusetts accessibility consultant to assist us through the Massachusetts Architectural Access Board process and guide us through the regulations. And as well as we've been also continuing to advance the design with our mechanical, electrical, and plumbing engineers and coordinating all of that development with the architectural layout of the project. So here you have a couple of snippets from the 50% DD on the left, the sort of row house elevations and plans as we've been developing them. As I mentioned before, the number of members on the design team has grown since we last met. At the top, before the break, that's everybody that's been involved for some time. We have ourselves as the architect, EDM as the structural, MEP, sprinkler, and fire alarm engineers, and GZA doing the bulk of the site-related work. Since then, we've brought on Passive House and Enterprise Green Communities consulting firm, lighting designers, solar design, security consultants, door hardware consultants, commissioning, hazmat, and also accessibility consultants. So the team has grown as the complexity of the project has increased, and we've gotten deeper into the details. As I also mentioned earlier on, we've engaged in a feasibility study, actually 3 feasibility studies with Mass Save to help us determine our sustainability goals. I don't know if you're familiar with Mass Save, but they assist in providing rebates and incentives for businesses and individuals to look into energy efficiency upgrades and design approaches that will decrease the carbon footprint of any development or structure. So we applied for $15,000 in feasibility study funds, which we were awarded. Northeast Projects performed those feasibility studies on 3 of the typical residential buildings. And out of that study came an analysis that proved that if we were to proceed with a passive house Core Zero model, which is a new passive house model that includes, solar panels on roofs to bring us down to zero energy, that actually proceeding with that as a sustainability goal was a feasible approach because it unlocked additional financial incentives for the project. So after we went through these feasibility studies, we approached PV Squared, who is a solar installer co-op out of Greenfield, Massachusetts, and have brought them on for the solar design portion of the project. So we're trying to set high sustainability goals for this project because we think it could be a benchmark project for affordable housing, for us, for the town, and for the larger Western Massachusetts region. And then finally, just to give everybody an update on where we are with the administration and the extension buildings, we have, just as with the residential portion, we've continued to advance the design. We've also received some market feedback on what we initially had as a sort of food hall space. We also have gotten feedback through the National Park Service and the historical consulting that what we were kind of aggressively pursuing in the extension building was to sort of remove some partitions to open up the space to this food hall idea. Became less and less feasible when you consider that you have to preserve a good deal of the partitions in the space. So the space gets cut up a bit more than we thought, and then the food hall program didn't necessarily seem as feasible program. So what we've ended up, with that feedback and with some market feedback based on some studies that we've done, we've sort of revised the concept for the extension building here on the left. Here you can see the ground floor at the top as to be, rather than like a sort of series of food stalls, like a singular test kitchen with a sort of open dining area. And then up above, we would have a sort of co-working space for people to sort of rent out and rent desks at. So a more flexible approach to using the extension building that fits better within the goals of the historical preservation agenda that we also have for the project. And the museum and the community space in the administration building is exactly the same as we originally started with. So as I also mentioned, we have, since we last spoke, began the process with Ryan, and Emily Dominiani is on the call. She can talk a little bit more about this, but we've begun the process with the Massachusetts Historic Tax Credits. The first step was submitting the application to the National Park Service. So we have proceeded with that. And then just to wrap up that portion of the project and sort of wrap up our overall development of where we're at in the project, we have a few ongoing things right now with the admin and the extension building. We're going to perform a 3D scanning of the existing structure. We've brought on existing conditions to do that. We have also engaged a historical window consultant, Quaker Windows, who's going to come in and look at all the window profiles, perform measurements and create drawings so that when we do the reparation and renovation of the structure, we'll be able to sort of reproduce the window profiles accurately. And we've also engaged a hazmat specialist, OTO, to come into the building. And Kirk, I know you've already opened up the building, I believe, for them to do some testing and sort of really get into what we're dealing with as far as hazardous materials within the existing structure, beyond the asbestos that we already knew about. So we're beginning to get feedback on that process. And that will give us a better, more accurate understanding when we start to price out the remediation process. And here you can see a couple of the developed elevations of that building from the 50% design document section. That gives you an update of where we're at with the design. We're moving forward with a larger team, addressing all the issues, moving the project forward as efficiently as we can throughout this process. So yeah, that's where we're at. If anybody has any questions, feel free.
I do.
Okay, Kurt?
Yeah, I was just curious, right, on the admin building, obviously the front portico is in a precarious state.
Yes.
And I had dug up the old blueprints and was not sure if what was built is what the blueprint said, and unsure as to its stability in its precarious state. Do you have any report back on the structural integrity of that portico, if it's on the verge of collapsing like it looks like, or is it not as bad as it looks?
We had a structural report done of the building. I believe it was almost 2 years ago now. I need to go back and review that, Kirk, to take a look to see if we got any in-depth answer about the portico in particular. We're fully intending to repair and replace it to the extent that it's feasible.
Okay.
I guess I would add to Kirk's concern that since 2 years ago, the portico has continued to descend into disrepair.
Yeah.
Makes him up.
Right.
Yeah, one thing I would say, and this is just from having, other projects that have, existing buildings that are considered historic, that predate, maybe even like that are in like the 1800s, like brick buildings, concrete foundations, although they look like they're in a state of disrepair, they tend to hold up fairly well. And yeah, the outside appearance of it might look a little shaky, but the structural integrity of it is still pretty high without going into the structural report, because I haven't reviewed it in quite some time. I think, sometimes the images when you walk past it or look at it, can be misleading. And that's just my experience on other buildings similar to that are older than the admin building.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to also add that, sorry.
Go ahead.
Oh, I just want to also add that we have spoken with the structural team. So it is their intention to go back to site just to further investigate some of the structures in terms of stability. So that is on our list of things that we are going to do as well.
Good. Thank you,
Vivian. I think the time is rapidly approaching where it may be too late to do that. So that would be a good thing to do.
Is there a timing for that study, that structural study that they plan on doing? Is there a time frame?
When are you planning on doing the structural study? Robert's asking.
We had spoken to them about this last week, so we have to confirm a date, but it would be
okay,
relatively like, I don't have an actual date, but we can come back to you with that once we know.
But you're looking to do that as soon as possible, correct?
Yeah, we are. We are.
Can I also just add a comment? You as the owner are still liable. Your insurance should have that done. If they can't do it in a timely fashion, Beth, Kurt, I would suggest that you guys look and see. You own the building, it's your liability. Okay. You need to kind of get on that sooner. We talked about this almost 2 or 3 months ago.
Yeah.
Kurt, did you ever take pictures of it and send them out about that at all?
Did I what?
Ever take pictures? Pictures?
Not per se.
Okay. I would suggest you take some pictures and send them to me.
Okay.
All right. Just so
I mean, basically, the substructure has settled. Most likely, the rain coming off the roof, all that type of thing. So that's settled, which then the brick facade has pulled away, and that's why we have boards up there. Which then it makes it so that those columns aren't doing anything. That's what my concern is, and that's why I dug through the blueprints to look at the structural basis of the portico itself. That was questionable. Okay.
Robert, your concern is noted.
Yeah.
Yes, Dan.
And a comment. So with respect to the portico, this building is currently under review by both Mass Historic and National Park Service related to, the historic tax credits. And those historic tax credits are a very powerful financial tool. They're each worth 20% of the qualified rehabilitation expenses of that building. So I would just caution you as you take actions that a demolition, if it were to collapse, it's another thing, but our intention is to preserve the historic features of the building, and that's a pretty important one.
Yeah.
So Vivian, I hope you will let us know as soon as you get that scheduled. And with Robert Jenkins' caution about our own responsibility, we'll keep an eye on this.
Sure, we'll do.
I would like to be kept in the loop on, when they're going out there to look at the building and such. I mean, that's the reason I'm on this board in the first place, is because my experiences with restoring old buildings. So.
Is that you, Kirk? Or sorry, I didn't know who's speaking.
That's me, Kirk.
Okay, great. Yes, I'll keep you in the loop.
You two are already connected, so that's good.
Yeah.
All right, continue, please.
So I'll turn it, since we're on that topic of the admin building, and we kind of, touched upon the historic process. I'll let Emily kind of chime in as to where we are with, National Park Service and the Massachusetts Historic Commission.
Hi there. Finally got the video situated. So we originally applied for the National Park Service, the federal state tax credit application in early July. It went through the Massachusetts Historical Commission, and they provided their comments and forwarded it to the Park Service. So currently we have MHC's comments on the draft, and within the next 2 weeks we should have the Park Service's hopefully conditional approval on our application. The MHC state tax credit round is coming up on September 2nd, so we will be submitting our first state application on the 2nd, and we got the local support letter from the Belchertown Historical Commission, and we're awaiting the Preservation Mass support letter, but I don't see any issue with getting that. And then hopefully come January, we will have potentially have our first allocation of state credits.
So I'm just gonna, thanks, Emily. Go ahead. I'm sorry if someone has questions.
Yeah, I think it's important to, since the process has to move along, if there are things that are needed from the town or any agency of the town, please let us know. Thank you.
Can some of the housing be changed to like veteran use, or is it just low income?
That's a good question.
Federal grants, stuff like that.
Ahmad, the question is, can some of the housing be designated for veterans, not just affordable housing?
Yeah, so I'll let Peter kind of chime in there because my experience is linked to the Chicopee project I just closed. These programs always identify like a special population, but that population also has to have something like chronic homelessness, like be compromised health wise, either physically or mentally. So there's always an underlying condition attached to like a special population. And I know with the Massachusetts rental voucher program, the state does set aside rental subsidy for populations that are vulnerable, but I'm not sure, and I'll turn it over to Peter, if that vulnerability also applies to veterans.
Yeah, so all of the 105 apartments are affordable to people earning up to 60% of area median income. Within that group, one could have a preference for probably a smallish number, maybe 5% of the units could have a preference for veterans. It doesn't necessarily bring us any more resources. There is a VASH voucher program for veterans that the VA issues. They're not widely available for new participants, but it is possible to designate a preference. So that way, during initial lease up, if you are income qualified, if you're otherwise eligible, but are also a veteran, then you would get a preference. You kind of go to the head of the list because there has to be a tenant selection lottery, and it sort of gives you a edge up in that lottery when that time comes.
Can that also include 55 plus?
That's a whole other
Income base, not age.
Yeah.
I mean, so
I think they're technically the richest generation, so
Probably, yeah.
I'm just thinking about the folks that are.
Yeah, so with
More
the
about their
age,
income than their age, so.
yeah, with the age restricted programs and units, that's like phase 2. So if you recall, like phase 2 is like independent senior. So that population will be served in totality, but just not in this phase.
But if your team will make note of that, some kind of preference grouping for veterans, I think that's been expressed by the EDIC, so that'd be good. Thank you.
especially
Okay,
with
yeah.
all that stuff.
Okay, go
Yeah,
ahead.
but Westover, yeah, that's a draw for veterans and housing them. So yeah, we'll note that, and then Peter and I will circle up and figure out if there's a way to put that in the project. So I just want, before the design folks get off the screen, and can you give me the ability to share my screen, Jonathan?
Yes.
He's a pro at it now.
We're always a pro till next time.
Till next
Find the
time.
right gizmo here.
Well, how did I do that again?
Make presenter. Okay. It takes about 10 seconds or so for that to work.
All right, let me just bring up 1 second. Yeah, now my screen is frozen. 1 second. All right.
Ahmad, while you're doing that, just one question I wanted to just get back to. Did you reduce the number of studios or eliminate studios for one bedrooms? Just for clarity?
He did say that they
But
reduced,
yeah,
added more one bedroom.
yeah, we just kind of
Reduce
flipped the number.
studios and increased single.
Yeah, and that is a function of design requirements from the state, but also to make the project more competitive amongst other projects. Typically, with these programs, funding agencies don't like to see a disproportionate share of units being studios. It doesn't house enough folks. So yeah, we were able to accomplish, increasing the number of one bedrooms while not increasing the number of units. And that, is a testament to Andy and his team. But yeah, we kind of had to go in that direction. I know Peter's in the room, so if he wants to add a little bit more color to that, sometimes stuff is kind of out of our control.
Yeah, the state's qualified allocation plan, which is their guidelines as to how they allocate the low-income housing tax credits, they typically require 10% of the units are three-bedroom apartments, and I think it's 25% have to be two-bedroom or greater. So we were a little out of line with what they were looking for, and at one point we looked at swapping it around and having more studios, but we came to the realization that in Belchertown, 29 studio apartments was going to be too many, and that one bedroom would be a better fit. And it's escaping me the final number we ended up with, but we're at least in compliance with the funding guidelines from EOHLC in terms of the amount of the percentage of 1, 2, and 3 bedroom apartments.
So this is going to be a mixture of studio 1, 2, and 3,
Yes.
low income.
Yes.
And only 25% were low income.
No.
Yeah. So this program, low income is kind of like misleading because there are units that go up to 80% of AMI, and those units are sometimes more expensive to rent than market rate units. So everything is really kind of based on the income guidance versus just classifying these units and this development as low income. It's affordable housing, but there's just different populations served in the various income brackets. So you have folks like a veteran population that might be living off of, government benefits that will fall into one income tier, maybe the most vulnerable population. Then you have folks that are in a higher income tier. Your municipal workers, your school teachers, you name it, right? But everyone has to income qualify. So just branding it as low income is probably not is not the reality of the development, the unit mix.
Right.
Because there's a different range.
So what are the ranges? How many are going to be at 60%? How many are going to be at 80? Do you know that yet, or?
Yeah, let me just pull 1 second. Let me go to.
And it's a Hampshire County's AMI?
Yeah, it is.
Just the
Yeah.
town?
No, you guys don't have a separate AMI. It's based on county.
It's based on the county.
Yeah, so Hampshire County,
Pretty
if
high.
you're in, it's high,
Hampshire
right?
County's AMI is high.
Yeah, so here, if we break it down based on a percentage of AMI, we have 16 units. I'm not getting into unit counts, but we have 16 units that are 30% and below, right, of the 105. And then you have 40 units that are 50% and below. And then you have 22 units that are 60% and below. And then you have 27 units that are 50% and below. So when you look at like the income mix, right, the 50% and below has 40 units, and then the next largest amount of units under an income tier is 80% AMI units, and those are very expensive units. So yeah, but
are you gonna do you have to do the rents at the 80%, or can you bring them to market?
Yeah, like, it's really about the market study. So we have to analyze that, to your point, right? Bring them to market. If our rents based on AMI are too high for the market,
Right.
agencies will force you to bring them down. The agencies, the lenders, the tax credit investors, they will force you to bring them down so that there is some cushion between market and that AMI tier. So if the AMI that equals market is 70% AMI, chances are they're not going to let us rent for anywhere above 65% AMI,
Right.
because they want a cushion. Because the idea is, like, why would someone rent a 70% AMI unit, go through all the drama of doing it,
Right.
when they can rent a comparable market unit and only provide, like, 3 pay stubs? And show a bank statement. So there will be a adjustment probably to these rents, but it's really dependent on the market study. The good thing
Right.
is it's in Hampden County, so it's like piggybacking off of Amherst and Northampton. But we don't know if that population that rents there will come to Belchertown. It's really based on a market study.
Yeah. And so so that annually have to provide their income, and what happens when they go over? Do they have to move out?
No, they don't. Like, the initial, the real test is the initial rent up, because folks, their income changes. Like, they go down, they go up. But if they're qualified at the time of initial lease up, then they're not per se asked to move or evicted. It's just that you would then, maybe have to take a unit that has a higher AMI, right, and bring it down to a lower one to kind of counteract that resident having, income tiers or income that's above their original, their initial rent. So it's just a rebalancing.
Yeah.
The
Because
thing,
I've seen projects, right, where there's just a percentage is affordable. So what happens when the tenant doesn't qualify anymore? They have a year and then they move to market rent, where these are all going to be affordable. So I'm just wondering what happens when they get to an income level where they don't qualify. Then what?
Yeah, I think, the fact that there's so many different income tiers, right? It's not that this is 60% and below. 100% of the units, they have like higher income bands. And to be honest, like, I don't think the folks that are going to occupy these units are really going to exceed the 80% AMI tier. So I don't think there would be as much, like, cannibalization of the units with, folks that are very high income residing in, affordable housing. I don't see that in this market. But yeah, there's a lot of, like, compliance level and, state and federal regulations that go into that. So if we ever get into that situation, that's something that the property manager.
So as property manager, just the implication of one of your comments was that initially these are allocated by lottery, but then you as property manager rebalance any imbalance that may develop by redesignating different units. Is that correct?
Yeah, you could, right? And I haven't ran into it, right? Like, I haven't seen that in any of my projects, so I'm not, an expert on that.
Okay.
Yeah, Peter, you might have seen it in Amherst because of the income levels there. But I haven't seen, like, a need to kind of right size or rebalance the unit mix based on one resident having higher income.
Let's see, Peter, any?
Yeah, it only gets tricky when you've got some unrestricted or true market rate units. Then, as you had indicated, if you you do have to do a little rebalancing as vacancies become available. But the goal is, in affordable housing and income restricted housing, is never to kick somebody out if they make too much money. And the goal is that if people grow and prosper, that's a great thing, and they can rename. They still have to income certify every year, but they're not penalized for improving their income.
That clarifies how that
So
works.
yeah, but like I say, it gets a little trickier when you've got true market rate units here, which we won't have. So
Okay, thank you. Let's keep moving along then.
Yeah, so I'm just gonna reshare my screen and kind of show folks the milestone schedule. And that kind of ties into um, the conversation we just had with Andy and Emily, Vivian, Gracie. So this is kind of updated on a weekly basis, this milestone schedule. So we start off with what we accomplished already. And there's a lot here. And we set like start dates and finish dates. And that kind of calculates into like days pursuing, this particular milestone. So for example, we spoke about, the 50% design set, right? We reached that in May of this year. But we had to do a VE set, right? So we had to take that design set and value engineer it because the cost to do the project exceeded the resources available to it, especially the admin building. So right now we're working on a 100% design development set that will be complete by September of this year. And then anything in between is effectively submissions for funding. So submission for, the One Stop for Growth. There's various pots of, capital that kind of fit into Belchertown and the resident income population that we're targeting. Emily already mentioned that, we submitted our part two. And then there's some other submissions to MHIC that we need to do at the beginning of September. We already have like the commission letter of support we don't have it physically in hand, but I think we already, got the approval. And then I'll just kind of skip down to like some of the more important things, which is, the HLC pre-application. So effectively, we need to get the project in front of HLC, and that means kind of submitting a pretty robust design set as well as a budget, and that should allow us to submit in the larger January HLC application. And then this other thing, which is a submission to the Belchertown CPA, that's something that we're targeting for September 25th to see if we can get local matching funds for the project. And then ultimately, we're going to submit probably a little bit over 25% construction documents for the HLC One Stop, which is the biggest funding application. And that is probably going to be more towards January of 2026 when they'll allow the submission. I have as December 25th, December 2025, just so that we have a couple of weeks prior. And then just kind of going down, right? Once that HLC application is submitted in December, God willing, by May 2026, we will have an allocation of HLC funding. And I know that Robert's there. So, all these funding sources, and I'll show you guys like a bit of the funding requirements that kind of go into this, the number of, funding sources. Once this application is hopefully approved for funding, we'll be on a path to closing, but the other part of it is also getting taxes and bonds. We're pursuing that with Mass Development. We had a good conversation yesterday with the folks within that, bond department, and there's a strong allocation for bonds for this project in early 2027. So once we get our funding in May from HLC, this team will continue down a path of closing. We'll hit 100%, CD set. in September of 2026. Our expected, closing date is around February 2027. So we would be looking to take the 100% set and then get building permits within this period of September 26 to, December of, 2026. So that would be where we would look for permits. Like I said, construction loan closing is 2027. Construction completion is 2029. Lease up, meaning that the buildings would be fully occupied, is 2029. And then what we call like stabilized, which is the buildings operating based on how it was projected to by the permanent lender. The building would reach stabilized operations by 2029. So this thing is like updated like weekly. And this might be, I think this was updated this week, so maybe the design folks didn't even see it. But this is how we're tracking our milestones. And this is literally the process of getting an affordable housing deal done. And the reason why is, let me just bring up another spreadsheet.
While you're doing that, I'm sorry, the bond for their financing for the project, the whole thing?
Yes.
So the affordable housing, like I said, like there's a number of sources, right? So there's pieces that come from HLC, and then there's also pieces that come from Mass Development and like a sister agency called Mass Housing. Mass Housing is not in this project, but they were in the project in Chicopee. So these agencies lend into these type of projects, and you can just kind of see like how many sources of capital that need to go into a project like this. This is just the construction sources. But if you go down, look at the perm sources, you're talking about nearly You're talking about nearly 22 sources of capital that need to go into a project like this. And the reason why is because, construction costs are high. There's quite a few units here. And also this outlier, which is the admin building. The admin building is an expensive building based on like the overall utility of the building as well as the square footage. Some of that has to do with the deterioration, but also, rehabbing a building like that to the historic standards is quite expensive. So that milestone schedule is really the way to get these 22 sources of capital into a deal. So you can see just how it's like herding cats. I'll be honest. Like it's just a lot of applications, a lot of time spent, a lot of design work, and then hopefully you're more competitive than the next project that is getting funded, or in this particular situation, because at a state school, it kind of makes the project a little bit more competitive. But this is the process to get these funds into the project. And Peter's there, he's a seasoned developer. My only experience in Massachusetts was a project I just closed, of similar size, different building type, a little bit more complicated of a site, complicated of a building, but it took me nearly 5 years to get all these sources of capital into the deal. And I'm sure Peter's there, so he can share his experience as well.
Yeah, he's nodding there. It's like, we don't need the full experience. Ahmad, how many more subjects do you want to cover in this public section of the meeting?
Yeah, so this would be it. Like, I think this is enough to like move on to executive session. I just wanted to kind of.
Then let's see if we have any questions right now. Anybody?
My question is, what if you don't get the funding? Does it keep pushing it off, or can it design go to something else and we can move forward with a different design? Are we stuck with this design, or can we move to something else in the future?
No, we'll keep moving forward, right? Because as the developer and the amount of money and time that we all have put in, this project, we just can't pivot because a project doesn't get funded. Like, we have to continue to try to get it funded. So
When did we stop
He's right. There has to be a stop date, right?
yeah, of course. Yeah, I think the stop date is kind of based on the contractual, agreement that we have with the town. Yeah, the stop date. Yeah, it's kind of based on that, right? As developer, we're going to continue to submit applications. If we stop now, then you're going to have to restart with another developer. And if it's going down this pack, which is probably the most feasible way to like develop on that site and in Belchertown, it's just starting the clock over again. So, we'll continue to work the project. We'll continue to submit it. Again, I just got funded on another project. So projects get funded. It's just a matter of like timing.
I guess I don't know if I speak for everybody. I think I do based on our conversations. I feel like we are already 5 years into this. And I feel like what you're telling us today is you're still at the beginning stages.
We're not.
You've done a lot, but I still feel like we're talking about the same things.
Yeah, I don't believe that's the case, right? Like even based on that milestone schedule, like what we have accomplished as it relates to getting these projects, especially that building, the admin building into a position where it can be designated historic. I think the design has reached, pretty close to construction drawings. We have a clear path forward as it relates to submitting this application to HLC in the fall as well as in January. I just articulated that, we have a strong level of support from Mass Development on the taxes and bonds for, early 2027. So I don't believe that we're in the same position since the last time we spoke.
Okay, is there a different question from anybody before?
How many other projects do you have going on right now, or are you in the market trying to get funding for, or are we the only one?
Yeah, in Massachusetts, you're the only one. Yeah, so like I said, I just closed Chicopee. Yeah, this is the only project that I have or I'm doing in Massachusetts. So
Just because Belchertown's been put on the back burner for about everything since I've been alive.
Even water.
Yeah,
Right.
so like, I don't know. We've been bullshitted enough, so we kind of want to see results.
Right.
I mean, the design plan we looked at, I don't know, how many years ago?
Right.
I mean, I
And we
just
didn't
feel
care
like,
for it then.
and then I just feel
So
like
I'd like
we're
us
not
to
further ahead.
hang on, folks.
Yeah.
Let's see if there are the different types of questions like Matt that we'll handle in the public meeting before we go into executive session.
Right.
I don't see any. So, Ahmed, if you finished what we consider the public presentation, I think we're going to move to executive session and continue. We have a different portal, which I sent to you, I believe. Ahmed?
yeah, let me do you mind resending that to me? Do you have the capabilities? Or was it in that email that you sent me?
I can maybe do it from my phone if you can't.
I could do it. Ahmad.
Oh, that'd be great. Thank you.
I could send it to you.
Thank you. Amanda's always on the spot.
Jonathan, before you wrap up, I just have one question.
Okay, Steve has a
Not
question.
for Ahmad, for EDIC.
Okay, so we have one other piece of business.
Very quick.
Very quick.
So I have been waiting for EDIC to reorganize with a chair and a vice chair. Now that we have a chair and a vice chair, I would like to invite you to come to a select board meeting to update the board on what's going on here tonight and other developments. The soonest I think I could get you in would be September 15th, but we could also talk about October, the first meeting in October. So if you would just consider that and let me know if the 15th would work for you or The first Monday in
You'll be back to
October
all
would
of us.
also be fine.
Got it.
Although I know the select board has been following things very closely recently.
The select board is here.
You're gonna hear.
I think what we would like to have is an update at a select board meeting when a different crowd of Belchertown residents would be involved in the process, so.
Sure.
So
Good.
So congratulations on being the new chair, and now you can go be on the hot seat with the select board.
Oh, good.
Favorite place.
no different, right?
No, that's my favorite place. Thank you, Steve.
Okay, you're welcome.
All right, I'm gonna make this motion as we do officially. And I need my script for that, which is right here.
And excuse me, Hamad, did you get my link? I emailed it over, just confirming. Oh, you're on mute.
You're muted, Ahmad.
We'll come back.
I'm gonna forward it to Andy. I did get it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and what about other members of your team, Ahmad, for the executive session? Just Andy or?
Yeah, Andy can stay on, and Peter's in the room. I think Vivian, Emily, and Gracie. You guys. I think Gracie might already jumped off. Yeah, you guys can. Feel free.
Okay. Great. Doug, if you care to, that's great. Thank you, Emily. And I will move that we adjourn the regular meeting and enter executive session under Mass General Law, Chapter 38, Section 2.1, subsection 6 of the Open Meeting Law, to discuss terms and conditions of pending proposals and projects, and not return at the end of the executive session. All votes will be roll call votes, including this one. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, Kirk, your vote?
Yes.
Yes.
Beth, yes. Bob?
Yes.
Matt, yes. Jonathan, yes. We are in executive session. I think select board members, we're gonna close out this portal and open the other portal. Hang on, I gotta do that, don't I?
See you then.